Sumimasen. Now we are going to react to a video where we can see why and how L could actually catch Rohan case from Monster. That is his name, because I never read anything related to monsters, so it's my first time reacting to it. You know, I just know the meme with the drinking like the bottle of beer, you know, that's all I know about. The name of the channel is Event, and the name of the video is Can L Solve the Monster Case?
L. Laulier is often regarded to be one of, if not the greatest detective in all of anime and manga.
I don't know, it's the greatest detective as long as I know.
Even in the end,
But there is no much animes that I watched that it's made intentionally to be a detective thing.
he was still able to outsmart Light from beyond the land of the living, thanks to his successors near Mello. We've already seen how L performed in the Kira case, a crime that had supernatural elements, so how would he approach solving the monster case? This may seem like a massive downgrade or an outright sweep for L, but that would be underestimating the perpetrator of the case, Johan Liebert. L would be dealing with someone who's just
Rohan is probably an invisible person. I heard that he can like manipulate people to kill themselves, something like that, and he was born into an experiment with a group or something like that that made this experiment to him to turn him into a weapon, something like that, and he had a sister.
as intelligent as Light and arguably more manipulative, as Johan's words have the power to change the entire ideology and goals of countries. For any newcomers, I have covered L vs Johan in the past, but it was more so comparing each other's feats and abilities, whereas in this matchup I'll be focusing more on the case aspect, scaling the case's complexity than
I love these videos.
solve it, as this was made in 2022, and it was less scaling and more hypothetical, to be as fair as possible to both sides, rather than put Johan in the verse of Death Note, which is far more modern than his own, since we don't really know how Johan would do in a modern
Look at his ass.
world. We'll place L in the monster verse. He will be replacing Heinrich Lunge, and for the sake of the video,
I have no idea what was that character.
you can
It was probably a detective that tried to get
say
his
that L has the same
real
influence as he does in his own
thing
verse, which will allow him
to disguise him.
creative control over how the case goes. The win condition for L is obviously apprehend Johan with solid proof and have him convicted under the eyes of the law.
Yeah, remembering that the only reason why L lost was not because he didn't discover the Kira's identity. He knew that Light Yagami was Kira, but he had no proof about it.
Whereas Johan's win con is just to avoid being convicted.
Lock him into the prison with enough proofs, you know.
But if it comes down to it, killing L is also valid
He's a femboy?
as a win condition. It may seem unfair to only give this to Johan, but it's made clear in Death Note that L would consider it a loss if Light, or in this case Johan, died. As in the Change the World novel, Light himself to prevent L from solving the Kira case. And even in the original anime, L's successors consider the game being a game of evidence. Same way L could never prove Light was Kira because there was no evidence, even if he knew Light was Kira. With all that being said, let's get into the video, starting off with what makes the monster case so hard to solve, and honestly, the monster case has the most misconceptions I've ever seen on the internet. So let's go over why this is actually hard to solve. The monster case involves Johann Liebert, a child born from a eugenics experiment to create a superior race of human beings
Oh, from Germany, right?
that possess the necessary looks and intelligence in order to change
He's blonde, blue eyes, white
the state
skin.
of the country. The eugenics experiment, combined with being abandoned by his mother at birth, led to Johann undergoing deep-seated trauma that would mold him into the monster that he is today. He was very overprotective of his sister
Oh, makes sense why he was wearying her.
and would constantly murder their foster parents in fear of them letting the monster return.
Wait, that old man is the guy that tried to
Until
chase him?
they end up at Czech-German border and would be found by an officer named Hilmet Wolf. The twins didn't have names, but a book was found on Johann that was called The Nameless
Oh, I heard about this tale. Fairy
Monster.
tale.
The boy
It is a monster that assumes another person's identity.
in the book was named Johann, hence
I
how
guess.
Johann gained his first name, and Wolf just decided to name the girl Anna. Wolf's
It's Johan or Rohan? Rohan is from Jojo.
mistake were sending the
It's
twins to different
Johan.
orphanages, as Anna would be sent to Orphanage 47, though
Starts with
Johan would be
J.
sent to
So he's more Jojo than Rohan.
Time 511. It's here that Johan experienced the true horrors of humanity, as he was drugged, abused, and placed in a program to create perfect soldiers. Johan wanted to escape, as not only were his memories of Anna fading, but even his own sense of self. He had gobbled up so many names to the point where he had no idea.
German probably did it in real life. URSS and well, somewhere in Italy and France,
who
everywhere that a dictator
truly was.
took the place.
The only thing holding Johan back was the drugs administered to
At
him,
least they tried.
put him to sleep and made him
German did a lot of awful experiments involving people.
forget. But over time, he developed a resistance to said drugs. He then
Like the human centipede and a lot of all the other things.
formulated a plan to capitalize on the hatred of the orphans and project it onto the adults, which would cause an uprising and result in 50 children and 50
Is this manga
fight
old?
amongst one another and kill each other. He would then meet a boy named Christoph, who he'd saved to formulate a
Bruce Wayne.
10-year plan with before he'd split up and find Anna. The two would travel across the country before being picked up by the Liebets, which is how Johan gained his extensive knowledge in economics, as well as his last name. Whilst this family truly loved him, they made the mistake of letting
She looks like that mama from Tokyo Ghoul, which is related to Suzuya Juzo.
the monster into their home. And that wasn't Johan. That was none other than
The reason why I say sumimasen in the beginning of all videos is because of Suzuya Juzo, because I love him.
Franz Bonaparte,
One of my favorite
the
characters.
creator of the eugenics experiment. The twins appeared on TV with their surrogate parents.
This experiment kind of reminds me of Resident Evil, which a guy made the Wesker experiment to try to. Well, he grabbed a lot of children and childs. It was kind of prodigy, gave the best school and everything to them, trying to make a superior being. And that's right, all of the children and the daughters and sons and everything, all the childs related to these experiments was named Wesker. So Wesker doesn't have a name. Wesker is like a nickname, but Wesker doesn't have a name by itself.
And
So Zeno from Resident Evil Requiem, it's kind of more Uniqlo than Wesker himself. Considering that Wesker had no name, even if Zeno is just a clone, you know, if you consider that Zeno is not named by Wesker and makes him more Uniqlo.
Bonaparte was watching. He truly had no malicious intent and wanted to visit the twins to make sure they were truly taken care of. He visited them and left, but Johan was awake. His past trauma never left him, and he assumed
This is the whole plot related to Wesker's history on Resident Evil 5.
the worst. He would take the loaded gun kept in the house and use it to shoot his parents. He'd attempt to hide the evidence as usual, but Anna would be awake. She'd find Johan
Oh, she's so cute.
and what he did, leading him to believe he was beyond forgiveness. He asked Anna to shoot
This is the history, like, with the drawings, very similar to Junji Ito, you
him,
know.
which she would do. However,
I saw this scene after.
Johan was saved by Dr. Tenma, who decided to
Look at the finger on the.
Johan would repay his
forehead.
kindness by killing the chief officer that fired Tenma, which allowed him to advance his career. Johan would then flee the hospital, dropping off Anna to a new foster home before he'd leave to kickstart his plan of destroying the world and to be the last one remaining. He'd need to amass as much
Oh, it
as
was his plan.
possible, which he started by creating a money laundering business
Would probably start by killing the stronger, more influent people.
at the age of 15, which grew to
I don't think he would like try to get access to all bombs and nuclear bombs. Not on the first case.
become
Not on the first time.
heavily known in Germany's underworld. However, he soon became bored with it or something, he kind of just left it, and after taking some of the money, he left the rest amongst the others to just fight each other over the wealth. He would then use this wealth to hire serial killers to commit murders, all of which were people that were related
But
to
I don't think he would spread a plague or something like that.
Johan's past.
Because it would probably kill him too.
But now, you'll come to
Not that the atomic bombs would not actually kill him in the process, especially if he tries to throw more than one.
understand that Johan is
If he threw a single atomic bomb to United States, for example, from somewhere on the Asia, he would start the Third World War, you know?
Extremely
I don't know the years, the age of this anime where it passes,
intelligent on a disturbing scale.
but it would destroy the world because there's no way to protect yourself against a nuclear bomb. You can't, like,
He's had an otherworldly cognitive ability
stop
since he was
it
a child,
on the middle of the
carry out
flying.
elaborate strategies
Would
and
blow
ways to keep
anyway,
himself safe. But Johan's
dependently
most
of
powerful
what you
asset
do.
is his manipulation. His words have the power to kill, and they've held weight since he was a child.
Okay, I understand that you want us to follow you on your Twitter, please.
He's so cracked in manipulation that he can utterly brainwash a person and write the names of people and
Yeah, the same scene with the finger.
boxes, leading to them being brutally murdered. What's even scarier about Johan is that he's someone so admired, but yet so unknown. Nobody except the viewer, Tenma, and a few core people in the series know about his past, and anyone else is either dead or disposed of.
Oh, I'll have a similar thing, like his past was burned or something like that. Everything related to the orphanage and he was raised on was raised too.
What makes this case so challenging is that there is no sort of digital footprint, let alone a shred of evidence to prove that Johan Liebert is
Like
alive
hell.
and well in society. After all, there's no birth certificate or journaling of his youth, and the only sort of info to
But this case is kind of difficult because if L tried to send an actual person to, you know, spy Johan, he would actually take the control of the situation and he wouldn't actually know that a person was actually trying to spy him and he would probably kill this person.
prove that
But killing the person would serve as proof against him, no?
Johan existed would be in the eugenics experiment, which had countless documents
It's not like Euro that can write on a paper and make the person kill themselves.
relating to it in the Red Rose Mansion, but Johan burned it down.
But you know,
He's so good at killing any trace of his existence that despite attending a local college and living in a dorm, Lunge searched the entire room and outright came to the conclusion that no human could exist in such a room. What also makes Johan so difficult to catch is the time frame of Monster, which primarily takes place in Germany throughout the late 90s. The technology back then is nowhere near as advanced as it
I think that L would actually find him, like find that he is a threat, but he would not be capable of making any proofs out of it.
is in Death Note. While his cameras, live recordings, and wiretaps did exist back in the 90s, they weren't nearly as efficient as they are currently. The only way that Johan's existence could be proved was through Dr. Tenma, but the fact of the matter is, Johan wanted Tenma to know that he existed. Why? Because he knew nobody else would be able to fathom such a being. As I stated earlier, Johan's goals change throughout the series. Originally, his first goal was to become the last human left standing, but this goal changes once he reads the Nameless Monster in the Munich library, which reawakens his long-lost memory after the 511 Kinderheim experiments where they drugged him and made him lose his memory. He then switches his goal to his true purpose and decides he's going to find Franz Bonaparte and kill him by reenacting the Red Rose Mansion massacre in the small town of Ruenheim, where Bonaparte is revealed
Was the guy responsible for his experiment?
to be staying. He would then conclude everything by committing the perfect suicide by killing anyone who knows about him or his past. This goal initially started in Germany and would have
It would serve as a proof,
spread throughout the entire world, but he
like by finding it and saying he committed these things and killing these people. L could actually trace a line and connect it, like connecting the past of these public persons, what they did with what enterprise they were related, and find a gap, which was the gap of the place that Johan born and raised
goal
from.
and decided to get rid of
Papers.
Franz Bonaparte. The perfect suicide
And I would actually know that on that gap was a place where Johan probably was raised.
plan is a complex one for fans of Monster and for good reason, but you need
And he would, of course, relate it to German.
to understand why Johan would want to erase himself from existence.
Because he's blonde, he have blue eyes and whatever.
He had no name, no identity. Anna was
Yeah, this scene that I was
the only
talking about.
reference point to how a human being should feel. All he had was the story of the nameless monster, and he had to choose. Which monster could he identify with? Which monster could he deeply resonate with? The one that accepted their identity as nameless or embraced it, or the one that wandered aimlessly and searched for his true name, which was tragically a mission doomed to fail since he was nameless after all. His identity is that of a nameless monster. His search and efforts to assimilate a name for himself are useless. In order for that name to exist, to give you a sense of self, happy memories, or at least some sort of memory must be attached to it. Ideally, hearing a person that matters uses it in relation to you. But Johan had none, due to the countless experiments at Kinderheim 511 and the Red Rose Mansion The perfect suicide is inspired from the final passage of the book. Please remember, Johan always said that he does not exist. He wants to make that true, because that will finally give him an identity. He will truly
Non-existing
no
human
longer
being.
exist, not physically and not symbolically, through the memories of others. The suicide would complete him. Going into more detail of Johan's manipulation, Johan's understanding of the human mind is on another level, and because of it, he can perfectly assess anyone's psychology, behavior, and motivations. He sees their mind and soul at first glance, allowing him to perfectly predict what people will do and how to manipulate them. He has perfect
It would really interest L and make like L more paranoid than ever.
observation
It will make things difficult for L to, well, act, because Rohan would probably try to manipulate L, so he would know what will be L's next step, judging by L's personality.
perceptive
In any try or anything that L tried to get near and approach him as a physical person or with his buddies, like paying someone to go to him, would not have like 100% of success and would be far, far more difficult.
analytical, calculating, tactical, and
Especially related to any spy and someone related to the government that, you know, L hired on main anime, like that spies like Yagami, which is a bit manipulator, did manipulated the spies, giving them enough time to know their names and whatever. If Rohan is this good, he's probably better than Light Yagami on it.
deductive skills. These allow him to
So all average spies and things related to this would probably fall for his charm, you know?
perfectly predict, understand, and control anything no matter how simple or complex, easily. These skills, along with his charisma, allow him to create
So spies would not be that effective.
convoluted plans and control anyone into doing what he wants easily.
If he knew that he was being watched by a camera or something, he would not actually try to kill the person and do something else to control the person.
Johan
Yeah, but if he tried to do that, he would be on a difficult situation because he would actually need to disguise himself every time, control his acts and everything. He would probably try to do something to that person or something related to that kind of specific person that is chasing him or related to L, for example, as not as a first impact, but a consequence of another impact that as a consequence and a branch of events leaded that person to fail at the mission of spying him or something like that.
leaves such a strong impression on people that he can
A direct hit to the person that was actually searching or trying to get him would lead on a suspect thing.
convince
Like no proof, but he can't actually kill the person searching him.
legions to commit murder, play suicide games, or do other monstrous things after just a single encounter. According to Heinrich Lunge, this process involves altering the fulcrum of someone's identity. Much like removing a map's coordinate axis, the more jumbled their line
We can think about L's tactic being something related to trying to discover his history and identity by talking with these persons that was related to him to try to use it against him. Like, it would be a good plan to make Rohan remember about the things that he's suffering to. It would make him vulnerable.
become without that foundation, the more room Johan has to redraw or redefine their maps.
I can't see Elle actually trying to convince Rohan that, oh, I'm gonna lock all the persons that did these bad things to you, because Rohan will not
In
care.
any way he sees fit. When posing as his twin sister Anna, as they do look alike so he can do that, Johan visits Jan Suk's mother, an elderly woman suffering from dementia, and a very advanced one at that, in a mere conversation where he has a
One of the main pieces would be his sister.
look back
And Orhan would know that his sister would be a pillar on this investigation.
on her limited memories, while at the same time Johan ensures the woman is in the right emotional state to ensure that what he aims will happen. He manages to draw her out of the mental fog, making her remember so much information to the point where it seemed she was not even affected of dementia anymore.
He would probably lie to It's her mom. It's not her mom because Johan killed
As she
both
was
of them,
recalling
isn't it?
distant particular memories of her past, and managed to identify Grimmer and Tenma upon their previous arrival. Also managing to remember who her son Jan is. This displays an insane level of psychological advancement that
Or
Johan
grandma.
has grasped. It's not even about the timeline which Johan is in, and his intelligence shows that. No, he's on a different level, literally. His influence is also nothing to gawk at. There were 2 points in the series that he managed to amass massive influence. First was when he was a teenager and created the underground bank that Germany's underworld used for money laundering. The second, when he was following through with his original plan to become the last remaining human. He initially planned to get close to Schuvold and become his successor, and Schuvold was a prominent figure in the European economy. Essentially, Schuvold is one of the richest and most influential men in Europe. So if Johan was able to manipulate him, which he initially did, he would be able to destroy Europe's economy and start a war, which would lead to a doomsday. Johan targets Schuvold to take his money and influence.
Makes sense. Europe isn't related to the all world
Johan
somehow.
wasn't motivated by greed, he simply just needed Schuvold's money and influence to further his own goals. Johan's
It's a big piece of the world.
charisma, as I stated earlier, is also one of his strongest abilities, as he's able to create loyal, submissive, and downright obedient allies who will murder and commit various atrocities in his name. Overall, his influence spanned
Elle would notice if Rohan tried to do these manipulations with his people.
throughout all of Germany and would have been global had he followed through with his original plan. So with all this being said, how could L possibly solve the monster case? Well, it's going to be challenging, but it's not impossible. L, like Johan, is also somewhat of a mystery, and also kind of
Yeah.
like a non-existent being. He's only known by the higher-ups of the world.
Rohan would actually try to disguise Elle, and on this cat and rat relationship, I think there will be a cat and rat relationship, both of them being both cats, thinking that their enemies are rats, trying to get each other. And on the middle of this situation, Elle would probably get more info about Rohan than Rohan from Elle.
As the greatest detective.
Like Johan have more to lose by trying to get L, and he can't just ignore L because it's a big threat. Just ignore L, he's going to be catched. He needs to do something, but by doing something, he would actually leave some traces
Until
of
he
his
makes
behavior.
himself known for
The more he exposes himself, better it is for L.
Kira. But nobody knows L's real name or past. He was raised in an institution designed to create geniuses, but everything past that is a blank slate. What makes L far superior to Lunge is that whilst he can be obsessed, prideful, and a sore loser, it's not as if he's unwilling to open his mind to a new perspective. Initially, he was practically losing his mind.
It was the same reason why L actually gave a try, actually believed, counted on the possibility of being something related to shinigamis and gods and supernatural killing.
Of the Kira case, as it just didn't make sense.
It would not happen on real life.
How
Not that easy.
could someone kill so many people at once? This went on until he learned Shinigami exist, as well as the Death Note, which allowed him to realize just how Kira worked. L has dealt with the supernatural and overly extremely odd cases before, so a case involving a genius killer with no identity yet a massive amount of influence wouldn't be that unusual for L. With the amount of influence and wealth that L has, figuring out Johan wouldn't be impossible, and if anything, L could expedite the process by looking in the right places, as he himself is someone who
I know that I need to follow you on Twitter.
There's also the fact that L could just psychologically profile Johan with ease, as seeing how he was able to figure out what kind of person Kira was before even meeting Light face to face. While this you could argue it was easier for L because he and Light are two sides of the same coin, it's still impressive that L was absolutely certain on what kind of person Kira was, especially considering he's dealt with all sorts of criminals, some incredibly stupid, yet others being somewhat intelligent.
Yeah, he can trace the time that, I don't know, Orhan did or committed a crime or people disappeared, that he's an unknown person. And by being an unknown person and very smart and manipulative, judging that he's all that, he would probably guess that the fact that he's unknown, he probably came from an experiment just like they did to him. And he would search something about it and he would actually find German and he had an experiment or something related to, I don't know, the police database about German things, and he would actually trace the thing.
But L also has other feats of psychologically profiling many people before, so it's not uncommon. While this Johan is also a genius, he isn't perfect. There are flaws in his plan that could be exploited, and pieces found that lead to his next location, which were
Like, even if they erase the experiment, I don't know, like files about the experiment, there will be traces.
found
There
by
will
characters
still
like Tenma,
be
Anna,
something.
Richard, and Suk. While you could argue that
And there will be people related to it directly or indirectly, and actual real detectives or people that were trying to get Rohan or something like that. And L would actually track the Rohan profile or something similar somewhere in Europe or in Germany. You would actually find the whole situation with the biggest guy on Europe, which is that old man that is the richest guy, because I would actually guess that if Rohan wanted to destroy the whole world, he would probably try to aim on that old man, judging that he came from Germany.
Johan
And German is something, it's like on Europe.
left these pieces, which he definitely did, Lunge and Richard were still close to Johan's trail, both of whom were people that had
And when you think about weird experiments related to being a super being, the first thing that you put in your mind is German. Oh my god.
and were only considered to be a nuisance. One of these instances is which there's a flaw in Johan's plan would be the poisoning of the former Czechoslovakian secret police. Johan gave Petra the whiskey candies so that he and his associates would die, which makes sense until you realize Petra was offering those same candies to multiple different people at work, including Suk himself, the same person Johan needed for information. Johan had no way of controlling who ate the candies, in all honesty got completely lucky that his plan didn't result in the death of the guy he needed. Neither L or Light based their plans off luck, and rather based it off multiple scenarios that could occur. Sort of like how Ainakoji's planning has contingency
All dependent, Light Yagami depended more on lucky.
on
Like, he outsmarted people, but he was very lucky.
contingency, to the point where there's not really any gaps that can be
He
exploited.
did a lot
The
of
fact that like
wrong
Johan,
things.
L isn't above using people as pawns. Who's to say he would even have to go to Germany in order to solve the Kira case? With the right connections and people, he could just send people to investigate for him. Well,
Indeed, especially L knowing that it would be dangerous.
commanding their every move and creating strategies for them to follow, as he did with Naomi Masura during the Los Angeles BB murder case. So, could L solve the monster case? Honestly, yes. It would be a bit difficult, but as I keep saying, it's not impossible. L has none of the weaknesses that Lunge possessed, and is just Lunge on Trembolone. He has taken
And they are very similar.
and was able to single out light amongst the entire population of the world. And you also need to remember that by the time L would be placed into the monsterverse and given the rundown, it would already be made clear that the mass killings are happening in Germany. The population of Germany was around 80 million, which is vastly lower than the world population during 2002, which was 6 billion, which cuts out like 75 million people right from the get-go. Narrowing the monster case down to Johan is practically child's play in comparison. Also, for those who believe that Johan could somehow convince L to kill himself if the two were to meet or psychologically break him down,
I
that
don't think so. Yeah.
L is a borderline sociopath. Might sound crazy for you to hear. And is so detached, he views himself as an outsider amongst humans. He's so detached like that. Like Johan, he doesn't value his life at all. To him, winning matters more than anything, and he's shown time and time again that he's willing to sacrifice himself if it means solving the puzzle. He has proven time and time again that unlike Light, he is not ruled by his emotions. Using and manipulating others genuinely means nothing to him, even if he feels a semblance of guilt. He's willing to put that aside for the greater good. Johan would attempt to exploit L's mind and use anything at his disposal, but even then, it just wouldn't break L. This is also assuming that Johan is able to find out about L's past, which is slim to none. The only chance of that happening is if Johan somehow brainwashes Watari, but L would be a step ahead of him, and I doubt he'd send his most valuable assistant in blind. So,
Indeed. I would probably ask for that person that was trying to get him on German or Europe in general.
L is dropped into the monsterverse, gets informed of Johan, and from there it's up in the air. He does as much
Any Japanese being on that place would be very, very suspect.
Much research and info gathering as possible, and from here, L can
German or
whatever
Euro?
way he desires. He could lure Johan in via using
Japanese
Anna,
people right there.
just find Johan directly, and have him brought in after proof is shown. You can name any scenario or way that L decides to do things. My video does point out some scenarios that he could do it. But one thing is for certain, that being L will solve the monster case by any means possible.
Yeah, I like the video. I like this video. It sounds reasonable. I'm interested on knowing more about the things related to the monster anime or manga, maybe in the future. If you guys want me to react about this, another thing related to it, send on the commentaries. Bye bye, till the next video.